2022 May, Costa Rica mission by Chuck King, Frontier Harvest Ministries of Ford City, Pennsylvania. Kurt and I departed from Pittsburgh, and we flew to Houston and then on to San Jose, Costa Rica. It wasn't a real long trip, about 6 hours total, and we got to immigration and it was just packed with people. You can see the huge crowd here. I took a shot of that crowd. We were there for 2 hours standing in these lines before we could get up to the agent. But we made it through, and Francis picked us up and drove us back. It's about an hour and a half drive, or maybe 2 hours drive to Miramar. We stopped for pizza along the way. We had good fellowship conversation. And then we had a service that evening to the missionaries from the church, and Kurt and I both spoke, and they responded very well to come to seek the Lord, that they would be right with the Lord and have the right perspective. This is the view of the ocean from my hotel room. And the next day we went on to a sugarcane field where all these people live and work for about $25 a day, but they live right on the plantation or in the fields. And they raise some of the animals with our microloans. You can see a couple sets of pigs here, and some chickens are doing very well. This brother from the church in Miramar came and led worship for this house church group, and Emerson was there. He's our great translator, good brother in the Lord. And we had a dozen or more people in that nice time of praise, worship, and Kurt and I both taught once again, and they responded very well to us, and we're so thankful for the projects that they're doing. And we were able to encourage a couple of people who needed prayer. This one teenage girl had raised chickens, and some witch cursed her chickens, and they actually died, and she was full of fear about raising animals again, but we're going to help her raise a pig, and she came for prayer. This lady had a relative in a coma from a car accident, and we prayed for her. And this little guy took our heart. It's about a 2 or 3 mile drive to get there on a bad road, and we went back to our hotel, Don Francisco. It's a very nice place, very, very comfortable for us, yet very, very low price. So we're thankful for the pastor and his wife that run the operation there at the Don Francisco Hotel. And so we were able to then fellowship with Francis a bit. Here's Kurt and Francis, and then being Francis, we were there getting some food while we were out on the road, and we ended up there at the church service that evening. You can see they have these special worship dancers, and they do a lot of hard work to glorify the Lord with this in their church. Every time I go, I see them, and I was able to preach and call them to committed, devoted prayer life, and they came up to realize that they needed to change and be more devoted in prayer. You can see them here at the front. And then Kurt preached, gave a good message on being tender toward the Lord and each other. And these folks came up afterwards, had an extended period of prayer and fellowship. And there's Emerson and Kurt at the end of the day. On Wednesday morning, we didn't have a scheduled meeting, so Emerson and Kurt took the opportunity to go out and minister to some children, some young people, and even some adults that Emerson knew not far from our hotel. And they had a good time praying and ministering and encouraging them, giving out treats to the kids. Then in the afternoon, I did a chlorine generator training with Randall, the owner of the hotel, and you can see him here. Randall Artavia is his name, and he is doing missionary work about 9 hours from this hotel, and they need clean water. So he's going to take this equipment and reach 3,000 people with the gospel and safe water. That evening or that afternoon, we had a house church meeting about half hour from the hotel, and we were able to have good ministry there. Kurt and I both spoke, and they responded really well. The worship was good. The prayer time was good. Testimonies came forth. It was such a simple meeting and very encouraging. And after the meeting, there was time to pray for everyone. Well, I don't have pictures of everything, but you will see that we prayed for some. Emerson was praying for individuals, and we all went around and prayed blessings upon the people. And they want us to come back, and we hope to do that because they are very hungry to do the will of the Lord. This brother with the guitar is the pastor. He is a very anointed and blessed and wants to do the will of the Father. So we're planning on going back possibly in February and take a team, and this will be one of the places that we will minister in. The next morning we left early for a 7-hour trip to the south part of the country, and along the way we stopped, and Kurt and Francis took a look and some photos of these crocodiles who were under a bridge down by the river. It's very interesting to see crocodiles here in Costa Rica. And so we were heading for San Vito. San Vito is the name of the place where we'll stay at our hotel. And I had an ice cold Coke in a glass bottle, and Kurt bought me this delightful rolled ice cream. Praise the Lord. On Thursday evening, we had a house church meeting, and we had a very good time with this group. Justin Artavia is there now as a missionary leading this house church, and there are a total of 10 house churches now. When I was here about a year ago, there was only one, so they're really growing in interest in house churches, and they have the freedom of the Spirit and lots of body ministry and every member involvement. The fellowship was great. The worship was great. We enjoyed every minute of our time there and plan on returning next year to minister among the many house churches they now have. The Lord really blessed. We were so thankful for his goodness. On Friday morning, Kurt was roaming around outside the hotel and bought a bunch of fruit he wanted to take along to our house church meeting later in the morning. And so we first went to get cheap gas near the Panamanian border. We were very close to the border, and then we headed out the road to the place where the meeting was to be held. And you could see some of the beautiful scenery there along the road, and it's just a beautiful place. And this lady, when we arrived, she had ridden her horse 2 hours by horseback. She's a lady pastor that came all that way to be part of the meeting. Kurt ministered to the school children. We met in a community building attached to an elementary school, and he was able to hand out treats that he had bought and pray with them and talk to them about the gospel, and it was a very good situation. That was Justin Ortavia's wife and daughter, and these are some of the kids getting treats here. After they had ministry, they handed out cookies and juice boxes, and they were really thrilled to get all those things, and Kurt did a good job ministering to them. And then we had a room with some adults in it next door that we were preparing to minister to. And after the children were ministered to, Kurt handed out the fruit that he had bought, and they enjoyed that. And then you can see them here getting their share of the fruit, and they were happy. And we're getting ready for what we were going to talk to them about, because many of them were unbelievers, and they had come to hear about the Chicken Project. And Justin and Sister Blanca ministered in music, and then I preached the gospel to them, and many of them, almost all of them, stood at the end when I gave them a challenge who wanted to really follow Jesus, to give their lives to the Lord. And
you can see they pretty much all stood up. And so I don't know which were originally believers and which weren't, but Justin had said that a majority weren't saved. We ended up getting our COVID test on the way back. So the lab was 4 hours down the road, and we stopped and got the test. We got the results within an hour. Both were negative, and we went back to Miramar to prepare for going home on Saturday.